So myself and 3 other guys run a consulting company for small to medium companies who know a lot about their product but don't know how to realistically apply it in the market. So recently we've had a company come to us and they want us to help them raise funding worth 35 million, right? Yes. So my question now, you can probe me for more details on that, but my question is it possible to raise at least that amount of money on behalf of another company?
Yeah, look, anything's possible. There's no such thing as impossible. Anything is possible. But this is probably a great segue for us to start. So tell me about their business. What do they do top line?
So they're an aerial survey operations company.
Right.
Yeah. And they try help companies and industries like agriculture, mining, and construction.
How much do they make a year?
Okay, I don't have that off the top of my mind.
How are you going to assess whether or not they're fundable at 35 million if you don't know what revenues they make? We'll come back to it.
Yeah.
Do you know what profit they make?
Profits?
Yeah, you don't know?
No.
Okay.
So what I can tell you is that they, with this company from the States, have the only right to use that technology in Africa that could potentially, so for example, if you're a mining company and you want to find where resources lie.
How much are they asking for?
It's 35 bar.
35 bar?
Yeah.
What's the use of the money?
To build that technology.
Highball. You said they have it.
No.
So what do they have from
Oh,
America?
No. So from their partnership with the American company is the license to use that, specifically that one. They already do something like that this side, but I guess that would be a competitive advantage for them if they got that tech this side.
Please just stop. Did you just say they're asking 35 million?
Yep.
Okay, because that's still where I am. What is this 35 million going to be used for?
To build the tech.
What tech, man?
So-
What tech?
So, and that's how I was trying to explain. So it's a camera, right? And they already have a plane in which, so they'll fly over the land and they'll take a picture and it'll be able, through the tech that they have, tell you, what? Yeah. Not transparency, but through heat waves and so on, it'll tell you, yes, where most resources are. Yeah, something
Okay,
like
I've seen this tech, yeah? What do they need the 35 million rand for? Wait, let him explain. What do they need the 35 million for?
to build the technology, the camera. So to build the camera that they say would add to the competitive
So
advantage.
what did they have from America?
The license.
Which is what? License yeah, A.
To use the intellectual property this side.
Hey. My funding answer is no. See, because it's too complicated.
Okay.
It's just too complicated.
So is it no, again, the question was, is it possible to raise on behalf of another company that type of funding? Because you were saying that with regards to the construction company or business, it's very attached to the person. They want to know the type of person who they're investing in. So would it be possible to explore an opportunity raising funds for other small businesses?
Export with whom? What is your question? Ask me the question in that simple English.
Okay, is it possible to raise money for another company?
We do it all the time.
And investors don't say, well, I'm not investing in you directly, so I might like you, but
no, it's called deal origination, right? So there's different ways it works. Sometimes you raise on behalf of someone and you do it on risk, which means you'd go through the process of due diligence, you'd prepare the investment memorandum, you then find a group of investors, you go on what they call investors call it, there's a roadshow, and you roadshow the transactions to different investors, and the ones who want to take up a ticket, it's like doing an IPO. You go to people and say, this is the thing that's available, this is what it's selling for. And someone will say, look, it's too much risk for 35 million, I'll give you 5.
Yeah.
And then you go, you shop for the other 30. It's not impossible, it's doable.
Okay.
Okay. But I want to understand this business you're raising this 35 million for. What license do they have from America? It sounds like a TV license to me, because it sounds like there's no use for it. What license is it?
So it's the intellectual property, the rights over the patent to use it in Africa.
So they, okay, now so the license is for the IP.
Yes.
But the physical camera they must build themselves.
Yes.
Aye. Why? That's a shit deal.
Okay, why is it a
Why
shit deal?
why would Apple give me the rights to the Apple iOS but not give me the hardware? What do they expect I'm going to get the hardware from? And worse, more to the point, if this is an IP business, you would never allow someone to build a hardware that would use your IP, because the hardware is going to deteriorate the quality of the IP. A real license would be, here's the IP, by the way, we're going to do some sort of venture funding deal, we'll give you the hardware, and when you start generating revenues, you can pay down the hardware cost.
Okay. Now I'm just thinking, the reason to that could be the company from the States doesn't want to incur the risk of doing that. So
Why?
should it not work? Should it not work?
I'll tell
in
you
Africa?
why. Do you know why?
Why?
It's actually very simple. Your friends went to the company in the States and convinced them to do something that company didn't want to do. So the company was like, okay, we'll do it. We'll license you the thing. You guys are going to build the hardware yourself. Because if that company in the States really wanted to grow here, they would have put the footprint down. Yes, ma'am.
So essentially what happens, I don't know if you would be aware with this, in America it's called NASA, in South Africa it would be called SANSA.
Yeah.
So now in South Africa you need a license.
Yeah.
It's similar to the drones
Yeah.
or whatever. You would need a license to image anything. You can't just image whatever.
Yeah.
So there are companies that need imagery and to do analysis on whatever, to see your house, to do Google Earth as those. So what I'm getting from him is that the American company might have the money. These guys have the license, because you can't just come from America and image the whole of Africa or image the whole of South Africa. You would need a license, but how it works with the science and technology, they cannot come, a company from China or whatever cannot come into South Africa and image whatever we're doing. You need a license to actually do that. These guys have the license.
Yeah, so what do they need?
You
the
now
35
need the
million for?
technology to image the whole thing, which is a totally different camera, which is something that would cost a whole lot of money.
Yeah, so why don't the Americans fund it?
Well,
If you came to me as an investor, I wouldn't fund it. There's nothing to fund. Remember, investors want to fund things that have that have cash flows attached to it. Just don't forget that. The only place you go where you'll get funding that is not attached to cash flows is the government. The DTI might give you a few grants. Department of Science and Technology might give you a few grants. But any investor, the minute I give you money, there must be cash flows attached to it. So I go, I'm going to give you money for 35 million to build a camera. Pela, what cameras are attached to, what cash flows are attached to this camera? If you have the camera and you have the tech and you tell me I need to start surveying, and then you give me a probability of what you might find, that's fundable. Because then I take a decision based on the probability, which is about risk.
Do we still have time for another
Yeah,
one?
go
Because
for it, go for it. I
okay,
wanna start
all right. So
quickly.
before we start, so we own a property development company, and we already own a few properties, and that we rent out to students. Okay, so we have an existing agreement with one of the institutions, TUT to be specific, and we're moving on to UP. So what we're currently providing is very small, and we want to expand significantly. So we need funding basically for growth. And our approach is a bit different from your Res Publica campus key. We're using low-cost housing to fix the whole student accommodation crisis. It's worked for us, which is why I'm here, and we're looking to grow beyond that.
How many properties have you got?
We've got 10.
How many students?
2 each, or one property is in...
I like you. You're the kind of stuff we can talk about. What does it cost to build each?
I'd say...
I'd say?
The 10, I'd say maybe 800K.
Each.
No, the 10, like 10 apartments.
80K to build a unit.
800K, yeah.
80K to build a unit?
Yes.
What kind of units are costing 80K, bud?
It's low-cost housing. It's flats, like an auction, you know, an auction. So low-cost housing. Yeah, in a way. Yeah, but guys, yes, but
I just don't understand it.
You're right. But we want to move. You see, yes, they have bathrooms here. Certainly.
I know what he's doing. I mean, and they actually are quite. I've seen. They're
so
quite the thing now.
it's
I've
a
seen some of them are built
studio apartment.
upstairs.
It's not a room.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we want to expand significantly and do something that's more presentable.
That's a great
obviously.
business.
Yeah. It is. It's working for us.
That's a great business.
Well, and you were saying?
I'll tell you why I love it. You're solving a problem that exists. You're building a product that works for the market. It's affordable. Makes sense. The real question I have for you: what's your business model?
we used to get students to come in, we rent it out, but then we saw that that's not, it's not sustainable, because then we can't bank on the parents paying. So now we've roped in, NSFAS, actually, we've got in the university now. Initially, we had bursaries paying directly to us, but now with the expansion, we've got NSFAS, the institution paying us directly. So we don't have any interaction whatsoever with the students. They stay at our property, we deal with the institution.
But your real problem is going to be the rate at which you can build these. Let me tell you what I mean by that.
Yes.
If you're hamstrung with capital, if your idea is good, someone with more money will copy it.
I have someone that I'm working with right now, and we're working on something.
Well, I don't know what that working on something. I don't know.
We're working on expanding, just like I'm presenting to you, working on expanding. So someone has actually seen that idea, pitched to someone. I can't mention the names, but they're interested in that, and they're working on expanding with me.
In other words, giving you capital?
Yes, capital. They're offering capital.
How much money?
The first property that we're working on is worth 11 million. So they're interested in that, and we literally...
How many students can you take in an 11 million property?
350 beds.
Cool. Where do you want to put it?
We're working on social and Garankoa for TUT specifically.
Okay, so for TUT, you'd put up a facility with 350 beds. Do you need accreditation for that? You do,
yes,
right?
you need, yeah. We've
Okay,
gone
but you
through
got all of that sorted,
due diligence,
right?
yeah. All that is sorted, yeah.
Cool. Let's do some education for the guys. Okay. So,
I think
you're raising how much? 11 bar?
Yeah,
How many beds did you say?
350.
And how much do the kids pay per bed?
2.8, 3 grand per bed.
Per month?
Yeah.
People pay 3,000 rand a bed a month?
Yes.
Yeah, well, no. Damn, I'm in the wrong business.
You're welcome. I'll give you 10%. So yeah, that's what we're working on. And
This 11 million you're raising, what are the terms for the 11 million?
we're still working on, in terms of what?
Or is it equity or debt?
It's a partnership. It's equity, yeah. It's
How much equity?
50-50.
No, it can't. It wouldn't be. It would be 50-50 into this project, right?
Yes, into that product. Yeah, into that project.
That's what I was going to say to you. So here's how a business like this is a great learning for you guys. Which is what I would do if I was you. So I would identify strategic projects, and I would take each project and I'd make it a separate standalone business, and I would raise equity funding for that project. So you do a feasibility analysis, you do a business plan for every single project. Standalone is a different business, different PTY, different registration number, different banking details, different VAT number. Every project is a different business. Then I'd get a funder to fund that project and provide the equity. And your role is going to be to manage this project, yeah? And for that you charge the funder a management fee.
With my idea, crowdfunding, would it help in his case?
That's a great question. So you know what the problem is with crowdfunding? Do you know what it is? You know, we were sitting at a board meeting at SAFCA the other day, because there's no regulation for crowdfunding in SA, right? And everybody's complaining. I don't know why, guys. If I could start a business in a space that didn't have regulation, I'd do it tomorrow. A space without regulation is an entrepreneur's dream, right? Obviously, you can't attract big amounts of capital into spaces that don't have regulation. But the real problem with crowdfunding is liquidity. So here's what that means. How many people in this room? Let's imagine 50. We all agree we're going to put 1,000 rand into an account every single month. 50 by 1,000 is what? 50,000. I know. I did that on purpose. And we keep going for the next 6 months, and we get to a point where there's 300,000 in the bank account. And, you know, by some stroke of bad luck, someone here breaks their leg, another person gets into a car accident, they're not insured, someone else and they want that money. Okay? Now, in a strict crowdfunding platform, you fund for a term. So this thing would be locked until you raise 11 million. Make sense? Basically, if you got 1,000 people to agree to put in 1,000 rand, it's 1 million rand a month. They would need to invest every single month for 11 months with no drop-offs. And then only do you start building. Let's imagine it takes another 2 years to build. So now you're 11 months to raise, 2 years to build. Then you need another 2 years to recoup the money back before you pay them. Make sense? That's the problem with crowdfunding in SAs. The people for whom you're creating the crowdfunding instrument typically can't lock their money in for a long period of time. That's how Banbatandi society. You get in and out, right? How many people fall off kumshayelo? Like, Nikalani 10, beginning of the year, by the time November comes, there's 4 or 5 of you, because people have fallen off the cycle. So that's the real issue with crowdfunding. What I would do for this is I wouldn't necessarily make it a crowdfunding, but I'd make it a closed investor group. So 5, 6 high net worth guys, 5 or 6 of them, because this 11 million rand is a big punch for one person to take. But you take 11 million, you split it by 11 people at a million rand each, it's eatable. I can put a million rand down, okay? And I'll wait for my 11 million to come back in 2 years. Sure, no problem. Make sense? Yes, sir.
There's this new wave whereby a lot of people are doing something called property stokvels. So people are now committing something like maybe, let's say, 5,000 rand a month on this property stokvel, and then they're trying to buy a property in cash, let's say every 6 months.
Yeah.
And then you've got about 20 people. So my question with this idea has always been like, if I'm the 19th person out of the 20th, and then the other 18 decide to stop paying within maybe 7, 8 years, will I still get my property in full?
Yeah, look, the property stokvels are dumb.
That's what I don't understand as well.
Sorry, did I say that out loud? Do you know why? Because people are buying properties to own, which is fallacious. You can start a property stokvel. I just wouldn't buy to own. I'd buy to rent out. Because that's true. True financial wealth is not owning an asset. True financial wealth is when an asset makes you money. Now, do you guys want the land? Do you want to live on it? Do you want to make the money from the land? Right? So if you had a property stokvel attached to owning properties that you were using for purposes of rental, then it wouldn't matter how many properties you had. Because the minute we have one property, the rentals are going to be split by the number of people in the stokvel.
I noticed that many people are afraid of debt. And of course, there's good debt and there is bad debt as well. Why in a case of, if people want to buy a property in cash, how about we take the risk of buying property in debt, right? But still have some cash flow just in case things don't go according to plan for 3 to 6 months.
Okay, so let's break that down. Guys, just make a note of this. So in the whole world of funding and capital, there are only 2 different types of funding instruments: debt and equity. That's it. I spent 4 years of my life studying that just to realize it's just debt and it's just equity. Okay? The thing with debt is it typically gets preference over equity. That's why banks don't buy shares in your house. They give you a loan. Because I can call a loan. Make sense? The process to wind up an asset that I am a shareholder in is more cumbersome than the process to claim a debt that is due to me. Claim a debt that's due to me, I take it to court. The court issues a judgment, I sell the asset, I claim back my money. Okay. Who here did accounting? Okay. You guys remember the income statement? You remember it? Yeah. You guys are going to help us. I'm going to put this way because I need it this way. Please help us who did not do accounting remember, how did the income statement go? What was the first line at the top? Revenue, right? And revenue is price times quantity, right? Then you have cost of goods sold, right? Which is cost times quantity, right? And then you have gross profit, right? Which is the difference, which is revenue minus COGS. Okay? You guys got this? Yes. You understand what this means? I make 1,000 of these pens, I sell each pen at 1 rand, I make 1,000 rand. I make 1,000, quantity. I sell each at 1 rand, I make 1,000 rand. Revenue 1,000. But it costs me 50 cents a pen. Cost 50 cents, how many? 1,000, therefore my cost is 500 bucks. Gross profit is my 1,000 minus my 500, I'm at a positive of 500. Make sense? Here's the mistake many entrepreneurs make. You guys think you are profitable because you're profitable here. Yeah? The problem is you start fleecing the company's resources because this is where you're counting. And remember, typically when you look at a bank account, the bank account reflects this. Because it takes a while for these other costs to start showing. Meetings, all those cappuccinos you took the guy to at the Melrose Arch. Yeah? Those are sales-related expenses. General Somebody has to pay for your general costs of running a business. And administrative expenses would be your rental, would be your salaries, would be your telephony. Make sense? All of those get covered here. So it's like 100 line items that sit somewhere here. Yeah? Of this 500, let's imagine it costs you another 300 to pay for all of these. Yeah? You now have an EBITDA of 200. Now I want you to follow me because this is really important. When you do classical accounting, the first thing they teach you is, when you get to the EBITDA, the first thing you do is you remove the D&A. Make sense? Now remember this, because entrepreneurs again make this mistake. Depreciation and amortization, guys, are non-cash items. You're just depreciating an asset. So it's not money going out of the business. Okay? So you're going to remove, at this point, you're going to remove D and A. You end up with EBIT. Okay? Earnings before interest and tax. Earnings, for those of you, it's like profit. It's just a fancy... By the way, accountants love doing this. What is the difference between turnover and revenue? Fuck all. The only difference is the invoice you get. If they say revenue, was shy, right? The difference between profit and earnings? Nothing. It's just the invoice you're going to get. If they say earnings, was shy. So just don't be, it's language. Don't get caught in it, okay? Now watch what happens. So now what you do is you have to remove the interest charge. And you end up with this thing we call profit before tax. Hands up if you've heard this term before. Okay? Quickly, I want to pause here. Why on earth would the government allow the banks to be paid an interest before the government takes tax? Don't worry, I'll wait. Come on! I'm going to hold it. I hope it doesn't fall. Why would the governments allow the banks to take their interest before the government takes tax? Why would the government allow banks to be paid before the government earns their money back? No. No, come on. No, come on. No. No. Sorry? No. No. It's because the government is trying to stimulate economic activity by forcing companies to take debt to grow. Wow. Do you know where it comes from? 1929, stock market crash in the United States. The government goes, how do we resuscitate business activity? Yeah, you incentivize companies to take out debt so that they can build more factories, so they can employ more people. But companies won't take out debt to build more factories, to employ more people in a depression, unless we make the debt something they can subtract from their tax payments. Boom. I'll take my standing ovation now. It's exactly like QE. It's exactly like QE.
But why do we have to put it there? Why don't we put it in SGA?
You can't put it, because it's not a sales-related expense. Interest has nothing to do with sales. You see, these are variable expenses based on the sales that you're generating. This you pay whether you're generating sales or not. Has a debit order not debited because you didn't sell? Someone put out a post, a friend of mine put out a post on Instagram and she said, I'm an entrepreneur. I own my time. End of the month, the debit orders disagree. Okay? This is an important point. How many entrepreneurs do you know, especially us, who take debt to finance everything but the business? How many? A lot, right? You're missing the point of why you can take debt, especially on the balance sheet of a business. You take debt on the balance sheet of a business to grow the business, not to fund your lifestyle. I'm going to help you guys really understand why most entrepreneurs fail to get this concept of a business and funding. Let's just go through inflows and outflows of money here and see who gets paid first and who gets paid last. Who gets paid first in the business? The supplier. Would you agree? Because the supplier makes the stuff, right? So the suppliers get paid first. Then who gets paid? Employees. Those bastards. That's a joke. I've got great employees. I don't know about you guys. I've got great people. Back there. Okay? Employees, the landlord, everybody gets paid next, right? Then who gets paid? The bank. And then the government. And then you. Tell me again that you want to start a business?
I want to start a business.
See, the point is very simple. You take all the risk. You work the hours. You get paid last. If you're not in your mind willing to make this adjustment, don't start. Don't even. Just stay at the job. Month end, 25th, you get your salary. Okay? Yeah? Okay. So now that we've discussed this, let's just very quickly do this then. So this is the layout of an income statement. Why do entrepreneurs, I see a lot of this in SA, why do a lot of you guys fail to raise funding? Because when you do this, you guys, yeah, have terrible behavior here. Terrible. You don't know how to manage costs. So the investor looks at this thing and he goes, no, this thing here, it's fine, man. You've actually got a good business. Yeah? It's his business that he just told us about. I haven't gotten into the other related expenses. I don't know the cost of financing. I don't know how many people he's going to need. I don't know the operating costs. He just told us about the business model to this point. I go, sounds like a good business. This gets you meeting one. If this doesn't work, you don't get the funding. Because the investor knows, if I'm an investor, it means I take an equity position in your company, which means I get paid here. Not here. Yeah? Do you see why there's so few people willing to invest?